Good evening. Welcome to another Facebook Live. And tonight's going to be resolution time. So be thinking if you haven't already. And when you are ready, I hope that you'll pop into the comments and let me know what your resolutions are. I can't believe that we're dawning on a new decade. That seems pretty crazy to me. And there's just something about the idea of 2020 that seems even more intimidating or scary. But I'm excited that you are here. I have a blue background tonight. I'm trying upstairs. So I apologize if you hear the Christmas decorations in the wind hitting against the window. But I think the lighting's a little better up here. I don't know. We'll have to see how it goes. But welcome to this evening. Tonight at Sculpt, we had a decade playlist, and it was a little bit crazy to make the playlist this morning and realize how old some songs are, that they're older than I thought they were, and a little bit bizarre to be like, this song's from 2010. But it was a fun playlist to put together and do Sculpt with tonight. So hopefully if you weren't there, you can join us some other day. So resolution time. Some people love the new year and a fresh start and making resolutions, and other people kind of dread it or don't do it at all. And it's usually kind of this belief that nobody keeps their resolutions anyway, so why do we even make them? So if you have thoughts about that, throw those in the comments. Give me a like or give me a comment, something, so I know you're out there and are listening. But what I decided to talk about tonight was not the idea of making resolutions or how to make resolutions, because I think we all, frankly, kind of know how to do it and how to make goals, that they should be measurable, right? So that you know if you get there, that they should be something that's not a given, a bit of a stretch, not a sure thing, all those kinds of things about how to make good goals for yourself. But what I want to talk about is, I think, why we aren't successful in keeping our resolutions. That it's not in the making, it's in the pursuing of those resolutions. How are we going about trying to keep them? And I think we start out kind of like too hot, right? We start out guns a-blazing. I'm going to eat nothing but vegetables for a week and lose all 25 pounds in 1 week or 1 month. Or if we fall off the wagon and we have a donut one day, then we just, all is lost. When it's January 4th and you have all the way until December 31st. And so that's kind of what I wanted to talk about tonight, was this idea of how can we maybe set ourselves up for more success in 2020 and in this new decade that we're starting. Are there ways that we could be in the same spot next year, getting ready for 2021 and going, wow, I was really successful at pursuing those resolutions? That I set good goals and I set good resolutions, and then I was able to pursue them very successfully. And if you didn't notice before, on the announcement for tonight's Facebook Live, there was a link to a workbook. So I put a workbook together this morning for you, kind of putting all these things together that I'm going to talk about tonight, and putting together a resolution workbook to help you not only come up with resolutions, that's a little bit of it on the first page, but mostly these things we're going to talk about here in a few minutes, these steps to trying to pursue them and setting up a success plan from the start to help us be pursuing successfully. So make sure you grab that workbook. You have tonight, you have tomorrow, and frankly, you have into the new year. It's not as if this has to be done before the start of 2020. You have plenty of time to be thinking and working this through, because we have a whole year to work on these resolutions. So a couple of things on how I think we can do this. And I'm gonna kind of mix together some things that I know about and that I've read about. And one really popular book right now is Atomic Habits. And it was a really good read if you haven't picked it up and haven't read it. And one of the things that really stuck out to me about his book and making these habits was, well, I guess technically two things. Sorry, two things. So the first was that you don't have to be 100% right away on that habit. And that's kind of what I think people try to do with these resolutions is they come in, has to be all the time, 100%, has to be perfect. And what he talks about is you just have to be 1% better. And so if I'm 1% better tomorrow, and then in a couple of weeks I'm 1% better from there, and then I just continue to improve by 1%, pretty soon, 12 months from now, I'm substantially better in the ways I want to be and in making those changes. And that it's easier for me to make those changes or sustain those changes because it's been so incremental. It's been easier. It hasn't been that shock to the system or to the routine. And the other thing that really resonated with me from the book was to not necessarily focus on the thing, but to see it as who we are. And so if you want to make your bed in the morning, instead of it being, I need to get up and make my bed, you do things that are indicative of someone who has a made bed in the day, right? It's like, well, I am someone who makes their bed. And so I just do that, right? Or I am someone who has a clean and organized master bedroom, and that's going to entail having made the bed. That type of thing, that you're really trying to see yourself as who you want to be and like the behaviors, and not necessarily just on these individual sort of actions, but like who it means that you are. So taking that into consideration, that it can be incremental and that we're really trying to focus on like who we are and what then that looks like or what that includes is resolutions. And so how do we approach these resolutions with some of this different type of mindset? And I really like hope theory. I teach it in my composition classes, my other job. But it's this idea that if you are really wanting something, then you set goals to get that. But you want to do more than that. You can't just sort of wish it to be true. And so one of the main things is, okay, if I really want to lose 20 pounds, or I really want to get out of debt, or I really want to blank, well, how am I going to get there? So what is that going to take? And maybe that's talking to somebody who's going to go to the gym with you, right? Or who's going to remind you when you want to go shopping that, no, remember you're trying to get rid of those college loans, right? Whatever it is, we try to think, well, how am I going to get there most successfully? Or what is it going to take from me? What are those behaviors I'm going to need to demonstrate so that then when I wake up in the morning and I say, no, I am someone who's getting out of debt, I am someone who is going to be debt free. Well, someone who's going to be debt free doesn't run to Marshall's just to wander around, right? That sounds fun, but someone who's going to be debt free in a year doesn't do that, right? And so if I see these pathways, then I can adjust my behaviors because I am seeing myself as someone who does blank, right? Or who doesn't blank. And the other key part is predicting or trying as much as we can to predict obstacles. And if we can predict obstacles now, before we're facing them, we can come up with a plan. What am I going to do when blank happens? So if I'm trying to pursue a vegetarian lifestyle or to eat more healthy, or I want to only consume alcohol on the weekends, Okay, well, probably you're going to get invited out with friends or with family at some point to a restaurant or to go celebrate something or whatever. Okay, that's going to potentially be an obstacle. Maybe they're going to pick a restaurant that isn't vegetarian friendly, or they're going to want to have a cocktail before or with dinner, or they're whatever. They're going to take you to a place that has killer desserts, right? And the temptation is going to be super strong. So now, before I'm at that restaurant, looking at that menu, surrounded by 20 of my friends who are doing the thing I'm trying not to do, what am I going to do when that happens? And maybe I don't go, or maybe I ask a friend, hey, can you really help me not be tempted and to, or maybe not drink with me tonight or whatever, right? But trying to come up with a plan before it happens. It's much easier to execute a plan than to try to come up with one in the moment. And a lot of times then we're just like, oh, it's just this one time. And frankly, it's okay too to not be perfect 100% of the time. I think we also, in thinking about resolutions, need to be kinder to ourselves. We need to realize that there's going to be days we don't feel like it, or that we can't resist temptation, or we don't want to go to the gym, or we don't want to make our bed because I just don't want to, right? And that's okay. There's 365 days in a year, and actually an extra this year. So you have even longer to make your resolutions come true. And so realizing that it's not, and I really dislike this idea of like, oh, you fell off the wagon. Whatever. Who cares? It's not a wagon. There's no wagon I was on before. Like, I'm just doing my best every day. And some days I might be more successful than other days. But you didn't fall off anything. You just didn't do it that day. Or you did do something you didn't want to. Who cares, right? Today's a new day. Tomorrow's a new day. We'll try again. 1% better that next day, right? That doesn't mean that we're completely off the path. And so being kind to ourselves in this whole process, I think, is really crucial and important as well. So trying to think about, here are these obstacles. How am I going to face them? And trying to come up with as many plans, as many solutions as we can prior to them happening, because we're not going to predict everything. There's going to be things that we didn't see coming, that we were shocked and thrown off guard, and maybe they derailed us, maybe they threw us for a loop, but we know the path, we know where we're headed, we can hop right back on, and we can mitigate as many of these obstacles as we can as we map out our year. And so those are kind of the main things that I think are really important, is where do I really want to go? And how am I going to get there? What's the path? Are there obstacles that I know I'm going to face? And how can I minimize those? And the last little hint that I have for you, and that's in the workbook. I'll actually even put the page up for you so you can even see it. This is one of the pages that's in the workbook. And it shows here, if I can get myself off of here. Hold on, let me take this off and take myself off. There we go. And now I'll put back on so you can see it fully here. To take this one overall resolution. So you can print this page for, however many resolutions that you're going to have, probably, 1 to 3. And you're going to say, okay, well, that's the end goal. But can I break that apart? Can I make quarterly goals? What am I going to do this winter to help me toward that big goal? What's something else that would be a great achievement and be a step along the way? And then building from there, what could be a spring goal? And then what could be a summer goal? What could be a fall goal? And trying to make them cumulative, but also that each of these quarterly goals is a great accomplishment. And so you're already successful, and then you're experiencing this snowball effect of working toward that resolution and getting closer. So then you're even more motivated again in the spring. And then in the summer, it's a fresh goal toward this big resolution that you made. And so you can kind of have this snowball effect as you're going. And so, as I said, this is one of the pages of the workbook that I have for you. The link I will put in the comments for you as well, so that you can grab it there and be working and thinking over the next couple of days on what you think your resolutions should be or could be, and what those paths could look like, breaking apart, kind of walking it back and saying, okay, if I want to end up there, what are some benchmark goals I can set? What are the obstacles I'm going to face that I know about already? And what's my game plan for that, and moving forward? So I really hope that tonight, this little discussion feels like a lecture when I'm the only one talking on here. But hopefully, this discussion and the workbook can really get your decade started the way you want it to be, and then it can be a really successful year for you as well as decade. And thinking about what resources you need, not just what the goal is, but how. How am I going to make that happen? Whether it's an accountability partner, a course you need to take. An alarm, whatever, right? Trying to figure out, what do I need to get this done? So, always shoot me a message, join me in class, check out my new online beginners course if you haven't already. Some of you are already signed up and enrolled, and I'm super excited for that. New units open January 1st. Some of the big new movement modules, breaking apart some poses. So it's not too late to join in if you haven't already. I'll throw the link in a comment for that course as well, because maybe that's the resource you need to be successful, caring for yourself, starting a yoga practice in a safe way to get you kick-started in this new year. I would love to share that with you. So have a great night. Have a safe and very merry New Year's Eve, and I will see you in 2020. Good night.